Hey there, Layla. Got a minute to spare? I've got some thrilling news that I can't wait to share with you.
Good afternoon. Sure, I can talk for a while. What's going on?
Well, first things first. How's Stephen been? My son's been treating you well, I trust? He's a little silly sometimes, but he's got a heart of gold, you know. And of course, I hope you're doing well yourself. You're a very smart, strong young lady, and I would hate to see anything happen to you.
No worries on that front. Stephen and I are just as we've always been. Nothing too dramatic to report. We're just living our lives to the fullest.
That's music to my ears. In these times, it seems like everyone has a heart-wrenching tale to share when you catch up with them. But enough of that. Let's get to the exciting part. Ready for a surprise?
What is it? Should I be guessing, or is this just a figure of speech?
Sarah's tying the knot. You and Stephen are about to gain a new brother-in-law. But wait, there's more. She's expecting a baby. I'm going to be a grandma, and you're about to become an aunt. Isn't it just incredible? Sometimes I have to pinch myself just to make sure it's not all a dream.
Wow, that is quite the news! I hope the wedding isn't too rushed for her sake. An unexpected baby is quite the life changer. Hopefully they can get married soon enough so they don't have to worry about any societal stigma.
Yes, it's somewhat of a whirlwind wedding, as we used to say in my day. But what truly matters is this joyous new chapter unfolding for our family.
Whirlwind wedding? Is that something I should be worried about? It sounds rather ominous.
Oh no, it's just an old saying. It slipped my mind that you grew up overseas. Let me explain. Back in the day, if a man got a young woman pregnant, her father would show up with a shotgun and ensure they got married right away.
Oh, wow. Well, as long as you're excited about this, and so is the groom-to-be. Anyway, that really is fantastic news, and I'm genuinely happy for you and Sarah.
Can you believe it? The girl's already 4 months along. They took their time deciding what steps to take next. We need to find her a dress that'll accommodate her growing belly soon, because it certainly isn't getting any smaller.
Oh dear. Well, I'm sure there are dressmakers who specialize in such situations. You must be over the moon about the upcoming wedding.
Absolutely. There's nothing quite like seeing your daughter walk down the aisle as a bride. And I hope someday that you'll get to experience this joy too, dear Layla. Speaking of weddings, we expect you and Stephen at the ceremony.
Of course, wouldn't miss it.
It's such an overwhelming feeling of joy that brings tears to my eyes. It reminds me of when I first held Stephen in my arms.
I can only imagine how that feels.
Could you do me a favor and pass on this news to Stephen? Once we sort out all the details, I will forward them to you. You know how he struggles with texting, and I don't want to disturb him at work or during his time with you. He'll be thrilled to hear he's going to be an uncle. Good morning, Layla. How are you today? I'm still over the moon about the news. But let me get to the point. What did you tell Stephen about the wedding? He called me last night, and I was expecting him to be ecstatic, just like us. He was furious. I've never heard him talk to me like that. He wasn't just angry. He was confused and outraged even. He asked if we were joking with him. What's going on?
Good morning, Tiffany. That's very odd. I didn't notice anything wrong with him. Actually, now that I think about it, I heard some yelling last night when I was in the bath, but I thought it was just the TV. Or maybe Stephen getting excited over a game, as he usually does. But that must have been when he called you. He didn't say anything to me about it. This is news to me.
That doesn't make sense. I'm his mother, and I know when something's bothering him. All I did was share the news about the wedding with you. So something must have gone wrong somewhere. Are you sure you didn't say anything weird to him? Even by mistake?
Well, I told him about the wedding and how happy you were to become a grandma, and that we were invited to join with them. That's all.
And why would he snap at me like that?
Just a guess. But maybe this is still a touchy subject for Steven.
Touchy subject? What do you mean? All I did was tell him that Sarah's pregnant. He should be happy for her. What's so upsetting about that?
Tiffany, I was hoping we could avoid this conversation, but it seems inevitable now. You haven't forgotten about the accident 2 years ago, have you? The one where we lost our baby?
How could I ever forget such a horrible thing? But it's in the past now, and you both need to move on from it, especially if that's what caused Steven's reaction.
You make it sound so easy when it was a very traumatic experience for both of us.
Traumatic? Isn't that a bit strong?
Not when I have to relive that nightmare almost every day. Remember, I was as far along in my pregnancy as Sarah is now when you hit me with your car. It's not easy for us to just forget something like that, even though we've tried therapy and support groups. While I've always been better at hiding my feelings than Steven, I don't blame him for having a hard time with this news.
And for the last time, it was an accident. The car's brakes failed. It wasn't my fault.
Look, whether or not it was your fault isn't the point here. It's not like you meant to hurt me or our baby.
And what do you want from me? It wasn't easy for me either. The guilt nearly killed me.
Tiffany, I don't care what you do with your life. You can drive a cab or race a car for all I care. You have no idea what it feels like to lose a baby inside you. It wasn't like I had an abortion or something. The baby was alive and kicking.
Oh, please. We all suffered a loss that day. Don't you think I loved that car? It was part of our family for so long, and then I had to scrap it because it was totaled.
How can you compare your car to my miscarriage? Your car was just a thing. My baby was alive.
Yeah, you said that before. After I paid for everything, the damages, the hospital bills, the therapy sessions, I've taken all the blame for that awful accident. Can't you just let it go?
Money can't fix everything, Tiffany. You left me broken, Tiffany, in more ways than one. And now, even if Steven and I wanted to move on, we can't. You know I can never have another baby.
Okay. I get what you might be upset about Sarah's wedding, but I really thought it would make you happy. Can't you be happy for her? Can't you look on the bright side? And Steven, he never had a baby inside him, and he didn't lose his ability to have kids. If he's so unhappy, why doesn't he just find someone else who can give him a child? He's a man after all.
That's the most insensitive thing you've ever said to me. And that's saying something. This is why he yelled at you on the phone.
All right, enough of this depressing talk. I'll send you the wedding details soon. And you better be there, both of you. You need some fun and joy in your life after all this misery. Trust me. Grab a pen and paper, Layla. I have some exciting news for you. Sarah and Joshua have finally set a date for their wedding.
Hello, Tiffany. I hope you're doing well. Did you find a nice venue for the ceremony?
Yes, thanks to you, my dear. Remember the hotel downtown where you had your reception? The one with all the Art Deco paintings and sculptures from the 1920s? Well, they had an opening. And it's very affordable. And I know a lot of people there from when we planned your wedding. So it's perfect.
Oh, I see. That will bring back some memories for Steven and me.
Isn't it wonderful? Anyway, this is going to be a small wedding, so we're sending out fewer invitations. Which is fine by me. Wedding invitations can be so expensive. And it's still so much fun to plan a wedding, even a small one. It's one of the best parts of being a mother, don't you think?
I suppose it is. So, when is the wedding?
It's going to be the first Sunday of next month. Mark your calendar and don't forget. What's wrong? You don't have any work that day, do you?
You know we talked about this a few weeks ago, but it seems like you're being very insensitive right now.
What? What are you talking about? Oh, come on, not this again. How does this have anything to do with that accident that I've apologized for a million times? You're being ridiculous, dear. Just tell me what it is.
You think I'm being ridiculous? Really? You're the one who keeps making it harder for us to move on. That day you picked because it was cheap and convenient. That's the day my world fell apart 2 years ago when you hit me with your car.
Oh, is that all? It's just a date, dear. Don't you think it's time to make some new memories on this day?
It's not that simple, Tiffany. You can't just erase what happened. The fact that you can't even remember, it's unbelievable.
Oh, please. You're impossible to please, aren't you? Maybe if you could talk about something else besides your miscarriage, you might be able to move on. Didn't they teach you that in therapy or support groups? Or did you skip that session because you were too sad after looking at your calendar? You have your whole future ahead of you, Layla. You're only hurting yourself by living in the past like this. Better be careful where I seat you at the wedding, or else your gloomy mood might ruin everyone's happiness.
Living in the past? If our baby had survived, they would still be a toddler today. How can you expect me to forget that?
I'm starting to wonder if that accident damaged your brain too. I had a great aunt who had a lobotomy, and she was just as stuck in the past as you are now. Move on for your own sake.
Every word you say hurts me more than the last.
Great, now I'm responsible for your misery too? That's really unfair of you.
You're the one who's at fault here. Moving on means finding peace. And that's why I've tried not to fight with you. Even when you ignore my pain or insult me, I still try to be civil with you. The last thing Steven or I need is more conflict over something that was an accident. So there you have it. I'm full of grief and anger, but I choose to treat you kindly, even if I don't feel any warmth towards you.
Well, aren't you a saint or something? Probably wanted me to praise you, but all I feel is a headache coming on. Anyway, let's drop this depressing talk or your sadness will rub off on me. I want both of you at the wedding, no matter how you feel about the date. And do me a favor, don't wear a black dress. It's a wedding, not a funeral. Howdy, Layla. I'm not catching you at a bad time, am I?
Hi, Tiffany. And no, it's a perfectly fine time to talk as any.
What a pleasant surprise. I was worried you might be tied up with work or something.
Not exactly. I mean, I'm working from home, but it's not super high priority at stuff at the moment.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're free. That's one less thing I have to worry about.
Is everything okay?
Well, Sarah and Joshua just moved into a house. Perfect to raise the baby in. And of course, it wasn't cheap. That's why I'd really like for them to have a nice wedding gift that's going to help them along the way, you know?
Sure, I can understand that.
Anyways, what I wanted to ask is if you still had that money set aside from the settlement for you know what.
What?
Well, I was thinking of putting it to good use, so we have the funds to get them something really nice and memorable. You know? You didn't spend it all, did you?
I haven't spent a single dollar of it. Don't worry. I've been saving it for a very special purpose I like to call revenge.
Revenge? You better not mean against me, my dear.
Is there something else I should be setting my sights on? If so, I'm not seeing them.
You even know what the word accident means anymore? Or have you completely brainwashed yourself? Besides, no matter how badly you want to hurt me, it's most certainly not going to bring your child back. All you're going to do is reopen those old wounds of yours with that kind of thinking.
You say that despite doing everything you can to stop me from being able to heal properly. That's why I need to get back at you. Not to make myself feel good, but to allow Steven and I as people and as a couple to move on with our lives.
As a couple, please don't tell me you've roped my little Steven into all this too. My daughter-in-law betraying me is one thing, but to think that you've turned my son against me?
I didn't turn him against you. You turned yourself against him with your horrible mindset, words, and actions. I'm the wounded one, but you've hurt him badly too. That man has been grieving with the worst kind of pain and loss imaginable. and you act like he should just grow some thicker skin about it. I don't want to hear how you feel as a mother when you took away my chance to be a mother of my own and his chance to be a father.
So, I've paid the settlement. I paid your bills. I've begged time and time again for your forgiveness. How is this not over yet? I've been able to move on from things just fine somehow, while you two seem to relish being emotional black holes.
You haven't moved on because you never cared to begin with. You were more upset about your car than you were about the baby, after all. I want you to look deep inside yourself at whatever shriveled up excuse of a heart you have inside your chest, if any, and really think for a second. Do you honestly believe that to me, as the years would be enough time to erase the pain caused by losing a child?
Whatever happened to the old saying, time heals all wounds?
I figured you would pull out something weak like that. You've already made up your mind, haven't you? As long as you've paid us off, your hands were free of any blood. That's what you think, isn't it? Well, newsflash, Lady Macbeth. You might as well have just wiped your hands with a fat stack of cash and tried to hand it off to us. So no, I don't want to wipe my tears with your blood money. And I didn't even want to use it at all, unless it was to get revenge on you.
Why do you insist on going on and on about revenge? Enough posturing. If you want to run me over yourself to set things straight, then just do it already.
Don't worry. I've got bigger plans than just making you live through my pain. Besides, I don't want to pay your hospital bills. And I need you to be able to walk away in shame when this is all over.
All right, then spill it. What's your big plan, mastermind?
No can do. I've been planning this for quite some time, and I need you to be surprised when it happens. For now, feel free to go about your life knowing that soon everything I want will come to pass. Good evening, Tiffany. What a lovely wedding, don't you think? Sarah looked stunning, and you looked so proud and happy. I could see your smile from across the room.
Layla, thank you for coming to the wedding with Stephen. I have to admit, I wasn't sure if you'd show up.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. This was a big day for Sarah. Her dress was gorgeous. You couldn't even tell she was pregnant, especially with that beautiful veil.
Oh, I know, I picked it out myself, and I have to say, I have a good eye for these things.
Now that we've exchanged compliments, can we get to the point?
Point?
I'm not here to chat about the wedding. There's only one reason why I'm here. To tell you that your time is up. This is the last time you'll ever hear from me in any way. I thought about confronting you at the reception, but this is easier. Sarah shouldn't have to suffer because of you.
Is that so? How considerate of you.
Believe me, it's for her sake, not yours. She deserves a happy life, unlike us. Besides, you told me not to bring up the accident at the wedding, remember? I'm just following your orders. Have you been careful lately? Watching your back?
No. Why would I?
Well, I don't know it would have mattered anyway. Ever since I woke up in that hospital bed, I've been planning my revenge in silence while perfecting my strategy to destroy you.
You've been plotting against me all this time? Obsessively?
Obsessively, indeed. Right after I got admitted to the hospital, I asked Stephen to hire a private investigator for us.
What? Why would you need a detective?
Wait and see. The important thing is that with the money you gave us, we were able to hire the best one in the business. He worked non-stop until a few days ago, and his 2 years of hard work paid off. Right now, I'm holding a report with his findings.
Well then, what dirt did he dig up on me?
Just a detailed analysis of your daily activities over the past 2 years, Tiffany. Nothing too surprising for you.
My daily activities? What? You used my money to hire someone to spy on me? To stalk me?
Indeed. It's amazing how many weaknesses can be found in someone's ordinary daily routines. How well do you know your own habits over these past few years anyway? Reading through this was quite shocking for me. But for you, it must be normal by now.
This is some kind of prank, right? You don't really hire a detective. You're just trying to scare me into admitting something. Well, it's not working, Layla. Nice try.
Sorry to burst your bubble, but this is no prank. As much as I would love to trick you into giving me what I want, my approach had to be thorough and foolproof.
Yeah, right.
By the way, your husband quit his job last year, didn't he? We haven't talked much about your life lately, but that detail caught my eye in the report.
Well, you could have easily found that out from Stephen or Sarah. But yes, as a matter of fact, he did. He's got a new job at the History Museum across town that's treating him much better now. I'll have you know, most people can't find better work at his age.
I thought as much. I know you're not lying about that. Mostly because that time frame lines up with a noticeable disturbance in your life's activities.
Disturbance? You're the one acting disturbing. That's what I think.
About that disturbance. I guess the best way to put it is that you're living more than just one life for yourself, aren't you, Tiffany?
I have no idea what you're talking about. This means nothing at all to me. Not a single word you've said.
Really? Let me give you a refresher then. Does this scenario I'm about to describe sound familiar to you at all? It's the weekend, and you tell your husband that you're going out with some girlfriends of yours. My guy knows better than that, though, and he is able to tell me what you're really up to. Picking up younger guys at bars downtown and taking them back to a cheap hotel room you've booked for the weekend. I almost lost track of the amount of times my gumshoe reported that same story back to me. Seeing it all compiled now, it really makes me think. Just what kind of woman are you, Tiffany?
I have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know half of what you're saying either. So you do your best to shut it if you know what's good for you. You're just saying a whole lot of nonsense you have no way of proving.
Oh, you can rest easy on that front. The detective supplemented all of these with write-ups of your dirty deeds with equally dirty photos.
Photos?
You know, I always thought a woman of your age would know better than to do something this rash and thoughtless. Or that you'd at least be smart enough to cover your tracks. These photos are unmistakably you, though, and you've got nowhere to hide now.
I haven't done anything wrong. Sure, you have photos of me with some guy, but you have no idea what my intentions were.
Oh, I don't think it takes much for me or anyone else to piece that together. I definitely don't need to hire a detective to have a theory or two. Besides, even if you didn't do anything with this guy, certain facts stay true, immutably so. Namely, the fact that you lied to your husband about what you were doing all those weekends. Now, if you didn't think you were doing anything wrong, I have to ask, what were you thinking?
Maybe I just didn't want him to worry about me while I went out for drinks, okay?
Maybe. Maybe you didn't want him to know that you were fooling around with other guys, and much, much more. Are you any good at poker, Tiffany? My eyes and ears out in the city told me that you like to spend your husband's hard-earned money on poker at every bar in town. It would probably be pretty bad for your image if your husband, Sarah, or any of the lovely people at this wedding found out you had this side to you, huh?
Shut up. So what? You've got photos, huh? You'll never catch me in the act. So your findings are as good as trash.
True. You're a slippery one, I admit. A lesser detective wouldn't have even caught a whiff of this. You gave me enough money to destroy you, though. The truth is, whether or not I catch you red-handed, once the information gets out there, you're going to be in the hot seat regardless. The dirt I have on you doesn't just muddy your reputation, it completely spoils it.
I'm warning you. If you don't stop this, I'll block your number.
I mean, go for it, I guess. That's not really going to stop me from sending all this to your husband, though.
You wouldn't dare. He doesn't need to know a damn thing about any of this. This is just between you and me, isn't it? Like you said, no one else needs to get hurt.
Really? I was sort of thinking he had a right to know that his wife is not only unfaithful to him, but routinely lies to him about that and her habit of throwing his money away. Telling him just seems like the responsible thing to do from my perspective. When I said I didn't want to hurt Sarah, it was because I wanted this day to be special for her.
If he found out, there's no way he'd do anything short of divorcing me, though.
That's a good point. You and I both know there's nothing he hates more than a liar and a backstabber. Just imagine how he'll feel when he finds out how long this has been going on. I know you're a gambling woman, but I wouldn't bet on the odds of him staying with you if I were you.
How would I be able to live without him? That's impossible. You can't do this to me.
Yeah, without your husband's money, you're flat out broke, aren't you? I would offer to give you the money you used to settle with us back, but wouldn't you know it? I spent it all on that detective.
Please, I'm begging you. Whatever you do, don't tell my husband. Don't tell Sarah or anyone else. Please.
Your demands are getting less and less practical by the second, Tiffany. How am I supposed to just keep your secrets for you, Stephen and I already know, so what's the harm in letting your daughter in on the fun too? They're all going to figure it out sooner or later.
You're wrong. They don't have to know a thing. Not as long as you can stop it, right?
Wrong. I don't care about protecting you. Not after what you've done. You haven't protected us after all. Rather, you've tried to throw us into the deep end and watch us flounder time and time again. This is revenge, plain and simple. Not for the accident, but for how horribly you've mistreated us these past few years. Me, Stephen, your husband. Speaking of which, it really does seem like fate that it would all unravel on this day. Unlike you, your husband is well aware of the importance of this day, seeing as he calls us regularly to check in and support us emotionally. He's coming by today to observe the life of the baby we never had as a family. You wouldn't know much about grief, though, unless it was about your car, I guess.
He's coming to you?
Yeah? Do you have a problem with that?
It's already so late in the evening, you know. And besides, if he's going somewhere, I thought he would tell me about it.
Right. Because you're always so truthful with him about what you get up to when the sun goes down. Well, why not hitch a ride with him in that case? Maybe he'll even let you get behind the wheel. It might be a tough sell for him, though, because he remembers everything about what you did on that horrible, tragic day.
If you do, you won't tell him, right? You wouldn't do something like that if I came, right?
He just told me he's getting ready to come, so he'd better make up your mind quickly.
All right, I'm coming, I swear. Please, whatever you do, just don't tell him. I'm begging you.
Tiffany made it to the house that evening, but her husband took the wheel without offering to let her drive at all. In fact, when Stephen's father arrived at the house, he did as he always did on this day and prayed silently with us. Not that she knew anything about it, but the grief had struck her husband just as intensely as it had us. He came to us right after the accident, and he's been coming over ever since, partly to help us, but also to settle his own sorrow. I think my father-in-law knew of his wife's heartlessness when it came to the tragedy, and so he held on to twice as much pain and guilt in return for being as excited as we were to being parents. He was thrilled to become a grandfather, and he'd put so much thought into how best to support us raising the child. And so, my aspiration of revenge, though rooted in my desire to see Tiffany crumble, came to fruition in getting justice for my father-in-law. He deserved better than Tiffany's lies. When he learned the truth, he said nothing. He drove home with her in silence and divorced her the next day. He's a man of few but powerful words. I can't imagine his anger and disgust. He called me a few days ago to say the divorce was done, and Tiffany was living in a dump near her poker clubs. We gave him and his lawyers all the evidence we had. She didn't even fight back. Now he, Stephen, and I are free of her dark shadow.